John here. I offer Solutions Real Estate Services, and today we're going to talk about how you can make sure that you're qualified to buy the home at the end of the rent-own term. And the main thing we're going to focus on is this question that just people just keep asking me, which is, what do I need to do during the term of the rent-own to make sure I get qualified by the end? But before I get started on that, if you're just listening, maybe you're a long-time listener or you're just joining me, regardless. If you're really serious about getting into a home today and having time to actually qualify with the bank, if you are, then you might like my book, How to Buy for $100 Down, even when the bank says no. If that's of interest to you, then head over to buyfor100down.com. That's buyfor100down.com. Grab yourself a copy. All right, so let's see. Let's get back to where were we? Where are we rolling at? So when it comes to qualifying to buy the home at the end of the rent-own term, we all know that we actually have to qualify with the bank. At the end of the rent-own term, we have to qualify with the bank. But a huge question I keep getting, and what holds a lot of people back from actually qualifying for the mortgage, is this question of what do I need to do to make sure that I qualify? And you know what? That's really a fair question. And I get it all the time because, people are worried about not being able to buy the home at the end of the rent-own term, or they feel like they just wasted all those years or wasted their money and they don't have a house to show for it, right? It really makes sense. But here's the thing. When it comes to making sure that you qualify for a mortgage with the bank when the rent-own term is up, what you need to focus on are these 5 things. There's 5 things that you need to focus on during the term of the rent-own that's really going to make sure that you can qualify to buy the home at the end. Now, the first thing is time, because time will fix a lot of the issues that are actually preventing you from being able to qualify for the rent-own term. Time, time at your job, time in the country, time to pass if you have credit issues. Just time will fix a lot of things. The second thing is you need to make sure that you have a stable job and do everything in your power not to disrupt that during the time that you're in the rent-own. So you don't want to be going from job to job to job, and hopefully you don't have a period of time while you're in the rent-own that you're unemployed or you don't have a job. So you really want to make sure that you have a good stable job and you can actually maintain it and build up a good history. Okay. The third thing is don't incur any more debt than you already have, and do everything in your power to pay down as much of the debt that you do have. Okay. During that term of the rent-own. So don't get in any more debt. Don't be buying fancy cars or leasing things or financing things at the furniture store. Just don't get into any more debt, and do your very best to pay down your credit cards or any loans that you have. Do your best to pay them down as much as possible. Now, the fourth thing is you want to make sure that try to actually work with a credit coach during the term of the rent-own. I know in my business, before I even will work with somebody, we send them to the credit coach. They pay a small fee. And the credit coach goes through all their information. They have a consultation with them, and they say, okay, here's your situation. Here's where you are today, and here's where you need to be at the end of the rent-own term. So these are the steps that you need to take, and we'll help you along the way. The credit coach will help you along the way. So it's very important. Make sure you work with a credit coach to fix whatever credit problems that you do have, or do things and put things in place to dramatically increase your credit during that time frame. And the fifth and final thing is to make sure that your income is high enough to support the mortgage of the house that you're getting into, and that you have enough of a down payment saved up. So income is the fifth thing. Make sure that your income can support the home that you're in for getting a mortgage, and that you have enough of a down payment. I know, like I said, with my program, I won't even let somebody in a house if their current income doesn't support that mortgage. So we want to make sure people are set up for success. So when you're getting into, going out and getting a home for a rent-own, make sure that that you're going to be able to qualify for that mortgage based on your current level of income. All right, so those are the 5 things that you want to make sure you're looking after during that time frame that you're in the rent zone. Okay, so I'll tell you a little story about that in just a second. But if you're just joining me, I've written a book called How to Buy a House for $100 Down, even when the banks say no. So if you're really serious about getting into a home today, but the banks have turned you down from getting a mortgage, and you have some down payment saved up, and you can afford the monthly payment for a mortgage, then head over to buyfor100 down. Sorry, buyfor100down.com. That's buyfor100down.com. Grab yourself a copy. By the way, if anybody's watching this, if you could type buyfor100down.com, that's buyfor100down.com in the comments section, so everyone can see the URL. It makes it much easier for everybody. That would be greatly appreciated. Okay. So I had these clients, young couple, Dana and Corey, young married couple, who wanted to get into one of my rent-own homes. They owned a little company, it was an incorporated company. It was just the 2 of them. They were doing vinyl siding on houses. First thing I did was, obviously, I forwarded their information to my mortgage broker, credit coach, because I want to make sure that one, they have enough, they're going to be able to support the mortgage payment when they go to buy the house. And 2, what if any issues were there that the bank is turning them down for a mortgage. And so what we found out is it had to do with how they pay themselves from the company. Okay, so they didn't, like most entrepreneurs or most business owners, they want to pay the government the least amount of tax as possible, so they pay themselves very little. But for the banks to actually buy a house, you need to show that your personal income can support the mortgage of the home. So after we got their application through, the rent-own term that they need was 2 years. So here's what we ended up doing, working with them, or here's what they ended up doing during that 2-year time. They needed to save up a little bit more money. The bank wanted a little bit more of a down payment than what they had. So we ended up putting them on a payment plan that automatically counted towards their future down payment. They worked with the credit coach, like I said, minor fixes, but on their credit, and they implemented some strategies that raised their credit scores quite quickly. Our mortgage broker advised them and their accountant what they needed to report on personal income for from their company for the next 2 years in order to qualify for the mortgage. We advised them how much money they would need to have at the end to close on the sale of the home when they went to buy the home at the end of the rent-own term. I can't remember what the reason was, but they asked me they needed a 6-month extension. I can't, it just escapes me what the reason was, but I always build that in anyway, that I can extend the term. So I extended it 6 months, not a problem. At the end of the term, I forwarded all the documents to the mortgage broker, sent the contracts to the lawyer, and they ended up buying the house with no issues. It was the mortgage broker sent in the paperwork, sent it over to the lawyer. All they had to do was just walk into the lawyer's office, sign some documents, and it was done. Everything they did during that rent-own term made it so simple and easy for them to buy the home at the end. So by working through those 5 key things that we talked about before, it ensured that they were actually able to qualify to buy the rent-own home at the end of the term. So they were proud owners of a home, proud owners of a bank mortgage at the end of the 2.5 years. All right. So, by the way, before I forget, like I said, if you're really serious about getting into a home now, but the bank has turned you down from getting a mortgage, and you actually have the income to be able to support the purchase of a home, then head over and grab my book, buyfor100down.com. That's buyfor100down.com, where I share the same strategy that I used to get over 50 houses from homeowners for only $100 down each, and help people just like you get into a new home. So you can actually do it for yourself. You can learn the same strategy that I use to go out and sidestep the bank, and just go directly to the owners and pick up a home. All right. So to summarize what we just talked about in the video, qualifying to buy the house at the end of the rent-own term, there's 5 key things that you need to make sure you look after, or 5 key things you need to make sure you do to qualify. Like I said, time will fix a lot of things that have prevented you from buying the home. You need to make sure that you have a stable job and try not to disrupt that during the term of the rent own. Try to stay in the same job because you need that job history. Don't incur any more debt. Don't be going out buying cars or furniture or anything like that during the term of the rent own. And any debt that you do have, try to pay it down as much as possible. You definitely want to make sure you work with a credit coach during the term of the rent own. They're going to see where you are today, where you need to be by the end of the rent own term, and they will put a plan together, an action plan together, and work with you to implement it to make sure that at the end, all you'll have to do is walk in, sign some documents, and the house is yours. And the 5th thing is to make sure that your income, before you even get into it, make sure your income can support the mortgage, and make sure that you save up enough for the down payment when the time comes. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section below. And before I go, once again, if you're really serious about getting into a home today and the bank has just turned you down from getting a mortgage, but you really want to get into a home and have that time to be able to fix your situation to purchase a home in the future. And like I said, this is the same strategy that I use to pick up over 50 houses. I've been doing this since 2009, picked up over 50 houses. Then head over to buyfor100down.com. That's buyfor100down.com. Grab a copy of my book and check it out. All right. So thanks again for joining me. Like I said, if you have any questions, just type them in the chat. The team will follow up with you. And have yourself a great day, and make sure you look after yourself. Take care.